in the affairs of another state. And what they're referring to is that Julian has been very outspoken on Twitter about the situation in Catalonia, Spain, and the independence movement, and he's been, you know, a pretty vocal supporter of it.
That gets the UK pissed off, and then the UK puts pressure on Ecuadorian people, right?
Well, the situation, what people think it is that, okay, so Spain and Ecuador have a pretty close political relationship, from what I understand, and because Julian is sitting in their embassy tweeting about Catalonia and about, you know, the Spanish government being fascist, and you know, the former, he tweeted one thing. Was that?
John, wait for Bailey to finish her thought, right?
No, I'm sorry about the delay. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. But like, so Ecuador and Spain have, from what I understand, a pretty close relationship. And Julian is sitting in the Ecuadorian embassy tweeting about Catalonia, like the independence movement in Catalonia. There was actually one tweet in particular that Kim.com and a lot of people think is like the one that kind of did it. But anyway, we think
not to do it.
Huh?
Was Assange warned not to tweet those?
Well, that's what they're claiming, but Assange and the WikiLeaks people, I guess, at least the WikiLeaks Twitter is saying that wasn't true. But yeah, they are claiming that he's interfering in another state's affairs by tweeting about Catalonia, and Ecuador saying that there was some kind of contract between them, that Julian had to censor himself to an extent if you know, it had anything to do with anything that could damage Ecuador.
Yeah, not disrespect Ecuador. Yeah.
Right. Basically, like, you're in our territory, you respect us, kind of thing. You don't talk shit.
Do you mind, Bailey? Do you mind, Bailey? Now, my question to anybody that claims that he is meddling in other nations' affairs, well, what I would like to say is, if a tweet or two means that you're meddling in other people's affairs, well, then we are all guilty.
Well, yeah, and he's not doing that either. Like, he's just expressing his opinion, and he's also not just expressing his opinion, he's expressing facts. Like, with the one tweet that people found, I guess the Ecuadorians found, or the Spanish, I should say, found particularly problematic, is when during the Second World War, the leader of Catalonia, the president of Catalonia at the time, was extradited by the Nazis in Germany, and he was sent over there and he was executed. And then most recently, like last week or something, I think it was like last week, the current president of Catalonia he was arrested in Germany. Yeah. So Julian made a tweet explaining that, you know, what happened to what's happening now is like the same thing happened during the Second World War, and the leader of Catalonia was executed by Nazis. And that was the tweet, apparently, that really did it for Spain and made them put this pressure on Ecuador. And then Ecuador is like, you know, well, we can't risk this relationship for whatever reason. So now they're censoring Julian. They also took away his right to have visitors at the embassy, which I don't know how that fits. Like, I don't even know how that fits with their whole issue of not wanting him to tweet or whatever. Like, you know, even from their logic in cutting off his internet, I don't know how the visitors thing is supposed to connect. I mean, other than the overall issue of, other than like isolating him, but like, I don't think that's what Ecuador is there to do. Ecuador has been protecting him, and they're awesome for that. But it's like now they're violating his rights, just like.
Well, why is Spain so adamant about preventing Catalonia from being an independent country? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, there's a long history there, though. I mean, I think a lot of it just has to do with capital and like the economy, and the fact if Catalonia leaves, then it'll fuck up the economy, and also
I think it'll fuck up the EU, right? Because then Catalonia won't be part of the EU anymore, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, Catalonia, though, like the spokespeople for the independence movement in Catalonia, they've actually expressed interest in joining the EU as an independent state. Like, they're very European minded, like they're very progressive, and they're very like, they've said that they want to join the EU. They literally all they want is to just not be part of Spain. But like they want to connect with Europe in other ways. And there's a long history of independence movements in Catalonia, like going back to, was it back in like the 1600s or some shit, there was like France and Spain were at war, and Catalonia actually formed an alliance with France, and France ended up protecting them from the Spanish. So that's something that happened. And also like during the Second World War is really notable. Also like the Spanish Civil War, there was like a big anti-fascist movement coming from Catalonia, and that was connected to the independence.
Point of order, guys. Point of order. I'm recording this. Yeah, it's your turn now, John, but hold on.
I'm sorry.
John, it's not your turn now, but I am recording this, just so you know.
Thank you for letting me know. That's cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I mean, Spain has always been kind of like the bully in the pack. I mean, here they come over to South America, they conquer the Incas and all of the South American civilizations over there, stealing their gold and all this other crap. I'm not sure what year that was, probably around 1000 BC or somewhere in that area. They came over there and they whipped everybody's ass in South America, just fucked everything up over there. And, in Central America and places like that. And then it goes on from there, I'm so bad at history. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm trying to catch up on my history by watching the History Channel.
The Spanish Civil War is something you should look into if you're wanting to learn history. This is a really interesting part of
what year? What era? What year?
It's like Second World War era. I think it was 1936.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Started. Hang on a second here.
Well, let's just call it the Franco period, right?
Yeah, I have to find this out though, or else it's gonna bother me.
Anyway, John, what do you think about the isolation of Julian Assange?
I think it's fucked,
basically muscling WikiLeaks at the same time?
I think it's totally fucked. We have to somehow get a communication link into Julian somehow. Now I have an idea. Okay, here's what you do. Okay, you got to have a good throwing arm. Okay, somehow get Julian on that balcony. Okay, and you could toss him one of those really nice, secure walkie-talkies that use band hopping around and secure communication, and you can't jam those very easy. But
all right, okay. But
toss it up to the balcony, right?
John, can I remind you, we're recording this, and I plan to, if you agree, to publish it. So maybe we shouldn't.
Oh, I don't think I want to. You might want to edit that part out. You're right.
Okay. But anyway, that's an interesting idea. The only problem with that is that there are probably somewhere between 20 to 25 agents of the Met surrounding the embassy everywhere. They probably rented.
What's an agent of that? What is an agent of a Met?
No, the Metropolitan Police are responsible for the security. No, not the security, for arresting Julian Assange if he comes out of there. Just let me tell you, there was a really cool photographer that got behind one of the coppers, one of the Metropolitan coppers, and actually took a photo of the procedures that the cops has to follow when they're outside there. And they even said, don't even let the Ecuadorians out of there with a suitcase, because Julian might be in there. And I'm not kidding. This is not
no, I know. They were also talking about like smuggling him out in a dress, like dressing him in drag and smuggling him out.
What about having a guy with a really good pitching arm just pitch a walkie-talkie up to him on the balcony, just tossing it up there, letting it land on the balcony, and then hopefully Julian will find it.
Well, you've heard about the RICO law, right? And this is most definitely collusion between the three of us. Maybe we shouldn't talk about this. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, you're right. I should not. Yeah, because you're recording it. Recording it. Now I would feel more comfortable talking to about this. But anyway, it's just a whacked out idea.
Yeah, well, we're just kidding, right? We're just kidding, right?
Kidding, yeah, of course. Now, I'm sure that the Ecuadorian people are probably keeping a really close eye on him anyway. I mean, they're probably monitoring what room he goes into. They probably know when he wants to go to the bathroom or the shower or whatever else. I kind of feel for the guy because his health is failing. He's the lack of exercise. Every time I see him, he looks pale as a ghost.
Yeah.
Well, his health has really deteriorated. We know this because they have written reports about it after visiting him, and even his teeth. He can't get any help with his teeth, and I believe he has had problems with extreme pain there. And those that have visited him regularly tells us that he actually is seriously deteriorating. And what is it now? 7 years? 7 years in 8x5, which is exactly the size of a cell. That is isolation. But now they've also electronically isolated him. He's actually what the Americans called the SHU. What is that? Safe housing unit or something like that?
The SHU, yeah, it's isolation. It's an isolation cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently, no, that's not the right word, but the opposite of figuratively, what is that? Literally, they have isolated him.
Well, they give him food though, right? I mean, they feed him, right?
Well, of course. I'm very sure that the Ecuadorian embassy staff is taking care of him as best as they can, but they too live in cramped quarters. They even had to take one of the toilets, bathrooms, and convert it into a sleeping quarter for Julian, because where he was sleeping, there was this ramp, lifting ramp, that the UK government or something kept running day and night to psychologically fuck with him, so he couldn't sleep. There was this horrible sound from this ramp going up and down all night and all day. So now in the embassy, they have one single toilet.
Is this ramp on the outside of the building somewhere?
Yes, right outside the building.
What's that ramp used for? Just carrying
loading and unloading goods from the store or a corporation or shop next door. But if you keep running it with hydraulics and you stop oiling it, it will make a really bad sound. So.
Wow. So he's actually living in a bathroom.
Well, a converted bathroom he uses to sleep in. But the room that he works in is 8x5. And, well, try living a life for 7 years in 8x5. And you'll see what happens to your mental stability and stuff.
Is he allowed to have a computer?
Yes, of course, but his computer is no longer connected to the internet. So what can you do with a computer?
Well, all he has to do is toss a thumb drive out the window.
You have to stop giving away all the secrets now, John.
Oh, come on, man. I'm a hacker. I got to think about these things.
I know you're a hacker. You're the perfect. You've been hacking the world for what is it, 4 decades now or 5? I don't know.
Can't even remember.
No. We talked to Kitty Hundal an hour ago. Do you remember her?
Kitty who?
Kitty Hundal. She's the one that had a chat with you alone. The IT girl from Canada. She's
okay.
She's your age, and she was talking about back in the day when she was using a really obscure word processor. And by God, I think it was the one that you invented.
Talking about Sleazy Writer.
Yes.
I call it Sleazy Writer because IBM really fucked it up.
Yeah. Well, she was using an Apple version and using
okay. That's the best one,
yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, Julian Assange, having deteriorated over time, also having done quite a lot of, let's say, silly stuff, using Twitter, like talking to Trump Jr., maybe as a hacker, trying to trick people like Trump into tweeting stuff or giving them leaks and stuff. He has really got a lot of people angry with him. But still, the organization WikiLeaks is so important for transparency. And transparency is the only way that we can, I don't know, keep our governments accountable.
Honest, yeah.
Yeah.
So now,
Yeah.
Bailey?
No. Sorry, I was just agreeing.
Yeah.
Talking about keeping governments honest.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you can't keep governments honest if you don't have transparency. And if they only pretend themselves that they have transparency, then, well, we have to enforce the transparency. And the only way to enforce transparency today is to, latch on to leaks and publish them and let journalists and newspapers write about it. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, we need transparency to keep governments honest, and we also need transparency to dismantle governments and dismantle the system, right? Because we can't understand the mechanisms of what we're fighting unless there's some kind of transparency. And I love enforced transparency. I love leaks and hacks and all of that shit because it's I mean, enforced transparency, you're doing it by force, right? You're fucking taking that shit because the governments aren't going to willingly give up their secrets. I mean, government secrecy is inherently authoritarian because nobody knows what the fuck is going on, and they can't make change or find solutions to any problems if they don't know about the source and the structural aspect of it and where to hit exactly. You have to understand the enemy if you want to kill the enemy.
So John, you're a hacker, right? You consider yourself a hacker?
Sort of. A retired hacker that lost most of his skills, but pretty much, yeah.
Can you get closer to the microphone so we can hear you?
Yeah, sorry, I was sitting back trying to stretch my back out a little bit here, trying to not sit up too much. Yeah, so would you say? Yeah, I'm like old school hacker, but
Well, the definition of hacker has become a little bit corrupted because I think people like you were the original hackers, and hacking simply means picking things apart and then putting them back together in a better way. And when you put electronics together to try to develop new things, that is the pure definition of a hacker, isn't it?
Yeah, but the press has sort of been twisting it around totally.
Well, there's this idea that a hacker is somebody who sits in their mom's basement 24/7 in a black hoodie, like destroying websites and
Those
stuff,
bottle
right?
glasses.
Like that's kind of the hacker stereotype. But I mean, hacking, like the actual definition of hacking is like much broader. You know, anybody who like toys around with computers and electronics, anything really. I mean, hacking isn't just computers, right? Like,
No,
exactly.
Exactly. You know, well, let me take two examples. First of all, John figured out that 2600 megahertz would manipulate the phone system. That's my brother. When I was little, he went to the garbage dump and picked up a lot of different TVs and radios. Then he took them home, picked them apart, and put something else together that was new and that worked better. So I grew up, you know, from when I was like 9, 10 years old, looking at my brother picking things apart and putting them together. And hackers are the only reason that our world has progressed with the tempo that it has. These days, when we say the word hacker or hacktivist, they think of anonymous or Russia and bad things. But hackers, we couldn't live without them. But today, seem like we cannot live with them.
I think Oliver is probably gone to bed. I tried to call him on voice, on Signal. He's not picking up. So I don't think we're going to see him on here. Maybe later, but not right now.
Well, it is like going on 2 a.m. in Europe.
Well, that's pretty much Oliver's hours is 2 a.m., you know?
Oh, I see.
No. Can't you tell us which Oliver are we talking about again?
Oliver Sawicki.
Oh yeah, the Berlin guy that did the Geek Fest with you.
On Zoom here, yeah.
Closer to the mic, or we can't hear you.
The one we were going to invite on Zoom.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna end the recording right now, so we can keep talking a little bit more freely. Let's hack getting Julian out of the Ecuadorian embassy after I stop the recording. Okay?
Figure out